now going to move on to missing or incomplete medical records. Now, in most cases, patient medical records are electronic and transfer between GPs via the electronic GP to GP file transfer once the patient has been successfully registered at the practice. Now, PCSE only move physical records directly from one practice to another, and we are only responsible for the movement of paper records. We're not responsible for any of the content in there, so we would never add any information or remove any information from a record. Yeah, it's just where a patient isn't registered at the practice, or if they're deceased, then the records will go into central storage. Now, if a GP or a GP practice notifies us of as a missing or incomplete record, then we will have an established process for this, which I will just run through with you now. Okay, so a medical record can be classed as missing when a record can't be found or it's not available when required. Now, a GP practice will contact us at PCSE to tell us that, although the patient is registered and the GP to GP file transfer has been successful, the patient's paper medical record has not been received. Now, once raised as a missing record, PCSE will go through a couple of checks. So the first one being they'll recheck the PCSE central storage facility and just confirm that we don't hold any of those records. We'll also check NHS England and third-party storage facilities, especially if the system indicates the record has been stored within an NHS third-party archive. We will examine record movements on the system and scan data from the courier just to confirm that CitySprint don't hold any parts of the record within the network. We will then contact all previous GP practices that we can identify that might have the records. Sometimes we locate multiple parts of the record at different practices. That can sometimes happen. And then where possible, we will reconstruct the record if the records can't be located. Now, if the records are located, we will facilitate the transfer of the records to the current practice. Okay, so reconstructing the record then. So what will happen is PCSE will request the electronic records from the previous practice, but we won't ask all the previous practices, as this could potentially lead to a duplication of notes. Now, we do send this to the current practice, and if the current practice advises those notes are incomplete, we will attempt to request further notes from other previous practices. Now, sometimes on occasion, we may not be able to obtain any notes from any previous practices. Sometimes we find that previous practices may have closed, or they've changed the electronic system and they no longer have access to the data. So that does sometimes happen. Now, in those instances, the current practices are notified and advised to reconstruct the record based on the information that they do actually hold. Now, if practices do not respond to the missing records team at PCSE, it is then escalated to the ICB. It's just from the guidance from NHS England that we do have to escalate that. Now, GPs are given 5 working days to respond, and then they're given an additional 5 working days before it is escalated. So if you do receive a request from PCSE, the record from the missing records team, please do respond as soon as possible, even if it is just to advise that you don't have the record. So then we are notified that a record's been located. When we are notified, we will check the system to see if a label's been requested, and if not, we'll then create that movement manually. Now, once the record has been collected, the current practice is notified that the records are found, and we'll let you know that they're in transit as well. Okay, so having a look at incomplete records then. So an incomplete medical record basically means there's information missing from certain parts of the record. Now, on occasion, a GP practice will contact PCSE stating that the record is incomplete and they want to find the missing information. So when a GP practice contacts us to say a medical record's incomplete, again, we'll check central storage just to make sure that we don't have the record and it's been sent out to the current GP practice. And we'll also contact the last known data controller for the missing portion of the record and forward on to the new practice. Now, if any records are found in central storage, then the record will be sent to the registered practice. However, if a portion of the record's incomplete and it isn't found in central storage, PCSE will contact the last known GP practice for the missing notes. And if found, these will be forwarded to the current practice. Now, if the last known practice is closed, we'll contact the ICB and ask them to assist in locating the missing portion of the notes. But if you do need to contact us with regards to an incomplete record, then again, just please use the PCSE online inquiry form that's available on the PCSE website.